Hello, sports fans and baseball fans. I'm here with another video giving the update on our Elmwood Strat-O-Matic Baseball League. And for those of you who don't know, there was a not really I think it was a little after mid-season update, which I will connect to on the end screen in case you want to click on that and look at it and watch it if you haven't seen it. But anyway, our Elmwood Strat-O-Matic Baseball League has concluded its regular season. And so I will bring up the regular season statistics and we will go through what happened. So, you have, let's see, league stats here. And so now here you have the standings. These are the final standings for our league. The Northern Division has been won by Adams with 107 wins and 55 losses. And they had they finished 17 games ahead of Kekianga, who won 90 games. And I'll get into the reason why you see such, quirky records here in a minute. Kekianga, though, 90 wins and 17 games behind Adams. And surprisingly, they're going to miss the playoffs. They won 90 and went 72. But if you look at the top two divisions comprise one half of the league or one sub-league, and the top four teams, well, the two division winners and then the next two best teams record-wise make the playoffs. So Kekianga with 90 wins and Green Lakes with 89 wins had good seasons, but they're not making the playoffs. In the Upstate Division, Endwell won that with 104 wins and 58 losses, and Worcester finished second with 98 wins, and Caseville finished third with 94 wins. And again, you've got a team finishing third place with 94 wins. And then, of course, my team was 62 and 100. And again, and now here's the flip side of this coin. I was 62 and 100, and yet I'm the fifth worst team in this league. The fifth worst team. Because Bobtown won 42 games, as you can see. Hawaii won 31 games. The Bronx team won 59 games. And West Hills only won 60. They went 60 and 102. But moving on to the Island Division, you can see that New York won that with 96 wins and finished a scant one game above Kremlin. And again, you have Philly finishing third in that division with 90 wins, although on their side of the league, he does, I believe, qualify. Yes, he does qualify as a playoff team. Wait, does he? No, I don't think he does. I don't think he does either. 90 wins, and it's the top two division winners and then the next two best records. So that would be Kremlin and Cleveland. So yeah, 90 wins, that doesn't get him in. So, and then you've got, in Toronto was 67 and 95. Bronx was 59 and 103. And then in the Southern Division, you've got Painted winning that with 107 wins. He was tied with the best record in the league with the Adams family. And Cleveland, with 92 wins, finished 15 games behind him. And then West Hills finished last in that division, 60 and 102. Gas House was 83 and 79, and NorCal was 82 and 80. And they finished 24 and 25 games back, respectively. Now, we will get into why these records are like they are. And the reason is basically that we played under the stupid rule this year that there are no injuries. So there was a huge available ceiling because the rules of our league say that if you, as a batter, if you have 200 and I think it's 280 plate appearances, you can play all year. And if you are a starting pitcher with 140 innings, you can pitch all year in the starting rotation. And relievers who are over 50 or 50 innings or more can pitch 85 innings. So we had those very generous limits on players being able to play. And then on top of it, we said, oh, and by the way, no players can be injured. And that's what made these good teams a lot better, because there was no equalizer. If I played against Endwell or Adams, there was no equalizer. My team wasn't quite as good, and I couldn't depend on key players for Adams or Endwell being injured, and thus making their team not quite as good as it could be. So that's what I think contributed to these really wacky records. I mean, of the division winners, only one didn't win over 100 games, and the ones that did cleared 100 pretty well. Endwell only had 104, but still, that's pretty good. 104 wins. And again, you know, in the draft next year, I was 62 and 100, and I'm going to have the 5th pick. I'm almost getting kicked in the balls for being that bad, because the other bad teams, you know, and I and everybody were playing with a stacked deck, because we would go up against a team that was better than us, and we couldn't depend on the other team having any injuries. So let's go in and look at some of these records and some of these teams. So let's start with my team. Of course, we're going to take a look at my team. Final stat. 62 and 100. At home, I was 25 and 56. Now, this was part of my problem. I was in absolutely the wrong home stadium, which was, I believe, Houston, which is kind of middle of the road. It's, 50-50. It's like 1 to 11 home run, 1 to 12 home run, something like that. And for singles, it was like 1 to 10 or 1 to 9 or 1 to 11, something like that. It was middle of the road for both. So I got to avoid that next year, because as you can see, I was much better on the road. Not good, but much better. I was 37 and 44 on the road. And we were terrible versus righty starters. I guess I didn't have enough lefties in my lineup. Extra inning games 5 and 9, which isn't really too bad. 1-run games 15 and 25, which is terrible. And we finished the year 3 and 7 in our last 10. And if you can see, you want to look at the records here against other teams. We were 5 and 7 against Green Lakes. We were 9 and 3 against Hawaii. 5 and 7 against Kekianga, 4 and 8 against the Family, and 5 and 6 against Bobtown. I mean, Bobtown was the absolute worst team in the league. Or no, they weren't. They were the second worst. They were the second worst team in the league. We were only 5 and 6 against them. So then you've got Federal Way. We were 4 and 7 against them. Endwell, we were 3 and 7 against. Caseville, 4 and 8, and Worcester, we were 3 and 9. So, and then of course we played the other league a little less. So there are fewer games. I was 5 and 1 against Bronx. I was 3 and 3 against Toronto, 2 and 4 against Philadelphia, 0 and 5 against Kremlin, and 1 and 5 against the Knights. Painted, I was 1 and 5. Gas House, I was 1 and 5. 3 and 3 against West Hills, who was finished just ahead of me for 4th worst team. Cleveland, I was 0 and 6, and against NorCal, I was pretty good, 4 and 1. So let's go look at our primary stats. The batting stats first. We only hit 238 as a team, so that was definitely not good. But you can see I've got like Tim Anderson really under, and that's another thing that happened to me, is I had a lot of players way underperform their cards. Tim Anderson hit 293. He had 20 home runs, which was good. And he was 50-50 stealing bases, which is also not very Tim Anderson-like. But, once you get down to, well, let's see. Votto hit 260. That's not too bad for me. He did pretty well. But Jimenez hit 245. He had a 296 card. Hit 296 last year. And supposedly had a 296 card, and he hit 245. Nelson Cruz, I traded to get some players and draft picks to improve for next year. But he was hitting 244 when I traded him away. Longoria hit 241. I know he wasn't great, but he was better than 241. Grichuk hit 232 before, again, I traded him away. And then it just gets worse from there. Although there weren't a lot of great players in the bottom half here. So anyway, pitching-wise, I think this is the first time in recent memory that I remember that I finished with a team ERA below 5. It was 4.99, but it was below 5. And we had some decent relief. Of course, I got Gausman, and he'll be back next year. And so anyway, I mean, I guess you can look at, there's nothing really impressive there. I drafted Porcello. I was hoping Porcello would catch on with somebody, but he wanted a long-term contract, and so he decided he was just going to sit out if he didn't get a long-term contract. Nobody gave him one. So, but he finished with a 5.50. He was 9-7. I was a crappy team, and Porcello had a bad card, and he was 9-7. Again, trying to figure this game out. At least for me, it seems to be like trying to figure out a Rubik's Cube. So, I don't know. Lester was 4-10 with a 621 earned run average. Good effort there. John Gray, 0-4 with an 1157. So, you get the point here, but let's look at some of the better teams, like Adams. Adams hit 259 as a team. But they had 247 home runs and 833 RBIs. And they had some good, I traded him Grichuk, and he hit 375 for him. Grichuk did. I don't know. There's nothing really, what do we got here that's really spectacular? Not a lot. I mean, 30 home runs by Judge, but he hit 203. But he had a team earned run average of 326, which is really probably what made the difference for him. He had a loaded bullpen, it looks like. I mean, you got to get down 3 guys before you get to a pitcher with an ERA over 2. And then Hunter had a 213. Williams had a 216. He had Walker Buehler, who was 12-4 with a 257 earned run average. I traded Greinke to him. Let's see, Greinke. Where is Greinke? I thought I saw him. Now he had Lester. He traded me Lester. Oh, there's Greinke. He's 4-2 with a 417 earned run average for him, which in a 20-team league, that's actually pretty good. Especially in a 20-team league where there's no injuries. Again, stupid rule. So now let's go look at the next best team, or tied with this team, and that is the Painted Posts. They hit 259 as a team. They had Darnode hit 369 for them somehow. Turner hit 322. Of course, he is a good player, so he had a lot of players he didn't even have to use or didn't use. And he hit 308 home runs. Of course, that's going to happen when you don't have anybody get injured. 53 home runs by Teoscar Hernandez, 34 by Gurriel, 32 by Turner, 42 by Moran. Now see, if Moran of the Pirates hits 42 home runs, something needs to be done. So now you've got, and then of course he had good pitching, 335 team earned run average, and he had some good guys, again, some really good guys in the pen. 074 earned run average by Garcia, 146 by McGee, Hoyt had a 171, and Floro was with a 259. Now DeGrom, yeah, okay, DeGrom 24-6 with a 296. Yeah, he's gonna do well for you. Zach Plesac was 19-6 with a 332. Lamet was 343 earned run average, 22-5. So now let's look at some bad teams. Let's go and look at the Hawaii team. He hit 187 for the year. His team hit 187. And his top hitter, even part-time, doing anything at all, was Farmer, and he hit 263. Then it drops off to 226 immediately with Kendrick. His highest home run hitter was 34 by Rosario, but Rosario hit those 34 home runs with a 189 batting average. Or no, he had another 43 home run by Duvall. Of course, and again, Duvall hit 43 home runs, but had a 179 batting average. And he had a 576 earned run average. So if you hit 187 as a team with a 576 ERA, that's going to be a bad combination. Kyle Gibson was 2-20 with a 705 earned run average. And again, I don't think it's because Gibson had an unbalanced card. I think it's mainly because he was pitching against teams. First of all, he was pitching in a limited league that wasn't a full 30-team league. But then to add insult to injury, nobody that he was playing ever had any injuries. So you've got Scrub with a 314 earned run average out of the pen. He had a couple of good pen guys, bullpen guys, but his starting pitching was terrible. So with that, let's go look at the Bobtown team, who was just above them. They hit 218 as a team. They did have 2 300 hitters, although those were limited play guys. They didn't play a lot, but Pena hit 313 and Robertson hit 308. Their best full-timer was 272. Again, the hitting, better than Hawaii's for sure. Home run-wise, their biggest home run hitter, 39 home runs by Dylan Moore, and Kyle Lewis had 38. And then he had a 623 earned run average. So his earned run average, his pitching was generally, you could say, worse than Hawaii's. You've got Mike Fires, who didn't really even have that bad of a card, was 7-24 with a 714 earned run average. Jordan Lyles was 8-16 with a 701 earned run average. I mean, there's some crazy bad earned run averages there. The only guy he had that pitched well was Suter with a 137. Well, he's not the only guy, but he was the best pitcher he had, a 137 earned run average in 10 games out of the bullpen, 26 1/3 innings. And his best starter was Glasnow, which wasn't too bad. He had a 402 earned run average, 123 innings pitched. So that's a quick look around at the league. I'll flash some other teams here. Bronx had a bad season. Hit 230. You can look at some of the hitters he had. I'm not going to go over individual hitters like I did. If you want to look at specific players, you can, of course, stop the video and just take a look at it. 499 earned run average, just like my team, but with a 230 batting average. You got Wooster. Wooster hit 250 as a team, but he had 263 home runs and 812 RBIs, and a 404 team earned run average, which actually is both not very bad, and it's pretty good, but it's actually that much better when you put it in the context of a league that only has 20 teams in it and nobody gets injured. So that was my look at the final standings. Let's give one more look at the final standings, league stats. And actually, let's go to the league leaders. We'll just scroll down some of these, take a little look at them. You know, you can take a look yourself here at what these guys did. You know, Hayes for the Bird Dogs hit 343. You got some really good batting averages there. Hits 231, 224, 223. I mean, when guys can play this much, and on top of that, they're not going to get injured, you're going to have issues. Perez, 66 home runs for Caseville. And then also Buxton on Caseville, 60 home runs. He had two guys that hit 60 home runs or more, and he didn't win his division. And as a matter of fact, he finished third in his division. So again, this is an issue. It's a big problem. The home run hitter from last year was Voigt of Gas House, and he only hit 54. And that's about what he would have hit if he had played an entire season. So that card was actually pretty accurate, or in this league, it played somewhat accurate. Teoscar Hernandez, 53 homers. Ozuna, 53 homers. You know, you're getting some really incredibly out-of-whack home run totals here. So, just let you look at that. Let's go down to some of the pitching. Let's see. There we go. I think we're in. Yeah. ERA, Gosselin 249, Bueller 257. I mean, you know, remember that this is, as far as guys qualifying for the ERA title, these are the very best guys, 249, 257. You go down to DeGrom, 296. That's an insult to DeGrom. So anyway, you know, let's just, I'll quickly scroll through some of these just so you can get a quick look. Home runs allowed, Mike Fiers allowed 62 homers. And Garrett Cole allowed 60 home runs. So you can see what we're playing against. I mean, I'm almost thinking 62 and 100 as a record was actually pretty good. So let me know what you guys think. Based on your experiences out there, what do you think? Do you think the problem was that we have such generous playing ceilings and at the same time, the fact that we didn't have any injuries, no injuries for anybody on any team? Let me know what you think. I think it's probably going to change next year, but we'll see. There are certain, they're going to have to take a vote on it, but I think a lot of guys have become disillusioned with the results the way they are using that rule. But I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me out. But that's going to be it for me, Sportsman Z, Bob Zulke, and I am signing off.